Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a behind the scenes for part 2 of Rebirth. So yeah, that's quite interesting. And the bed seems to be just have loads of crap everywhere, ever so slightly. Yeah, I mean, I am trying to make it look ever so slightly better, ideally, using stuff like this, or the amazing cardboard brick wall sort of thing, which I thought was a cool idea. I think I pretty much just sort of, my main sort of inspiration-y thing, I guess, for the whole brick wall thing is just Pyramids of Mars, I guess. You know, the fact that there's those, like where there's those bits where that hunter just runs into, like, a wall, but it's not even there, it's, like, invisible, but vice versa, it's like, that's a wall, but actually it's not. It's actually just a projection of a wall. That's actually, like, a door for, like, a spaceship, and that, so, yeah. This story is a 4-part story, so we're exactly halfway through Rebirth, which is weird to me. I am trying to make the current Doctor that I have in the figure of Adventures that I'm using, which is the 8th Doctor action figure. I'm trying to make him quite abrasive to Gwen, but that's predominantly because, surprisingly enough, hopefully if you've watched the previous story on my YouTube channel that I did quite some time ago, about a year ago now, which is just mind-bogglingly weird to me, but I did that one, and that one was called Judgment Day, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen that story, the companion ends up dying in that story, spoiler alert, but basically that's why I'm making this Doctor more abrasive, because obviously you would be, if anyone's been through having a friend or a family member die, then having to, say, if you then had to deal with someone else try and get close to you, whether it was like another sort of relative or auntie or uncle or something, then you might be quite abrasive to that. Or say one of your friends has passed away, and then someone else, one of your other friends, tries to fill that void, or someone else tries to become your friend, it would probably feel like, I think we have this animal instinct to sort of push that away because they're almost trying to fill that void almost. And that I think it's instinctive. But I really wanted to do that with the this Doctor, so he's very abrasive to Gwen as a character. He's very against her, being obviously like a new companion of sorts, so yeah. Yeah, he's just really abrasive to her, so, and really sort of just like, no, please get out of the way, shut up, sort of thing. Although that will probably get old, I presume, anyway. Nice use of the sonic screwdriver, nothing too sort of OTT over the top or anything, ideally. With that, all it's just literally doing is making a beeping sound to indicate when he's close to a energy source, and basically, obviously, the energy source is from the spaceship where the Slitheen are, which I'm so glad I actually said Slitheen and not what I normally say when I mean to say Slitheen. I always say Silurians instead of Slitheen, so, but yeah. Yeah, it's just, I've had an idea for a almost said Silurian again, Slitheen story for some time, so ideally, ever since I actually kind of saw the Slitheen all the way back in Series 1, which is like 13 years ago now, which is just makes me feel really, really old. But there's a little bit in the 2-parter, I can't remember if it's part 1 or part 2, because it's been a long-ass time since I've watched that 2-parter, even though it is a good 2-parter. I think it's good. It's not the best, but it is good. I mean, I know one of my friends, Michael, over at Nerd Central, was all, like, complaining about Series 1 being all, like, tonally, it's not the best series, because, you know, one time you've got farting green aliens like the Slitheen, but then the next time you've got, like, you know, creepy gas mask kids, and then you've got, like, you know, the long game and that, and more character pieces and that, like Father's Day or whatever else, you know, and Rose, I guess. But the thing is, to be fair, the biggest rebuttal I can say to that is that it is the first series back for the show, you know. They're not going to know what tone to go with, whether or not people are going to want to see more character or character development and characters and personal stories of the companion in the modern series, or if they're going to want more sort of high concept sort of sci-fi stuff, or more horror, more Hammer horror-esque stuff, like Unquiet Dead was quite... this might be heresy to quite a few old classic Who fans, but I thought it was very sort of reminiscent of the Tom Baker Hammer horror era of the show. I could easily see Unquiet Dead being a Tom Baker story with like Jago and Lightfoot, easily, which is the biggest compliment I can give Mark Gatiss, or I at least want to say, or I at least want to think that it is the biggest compliment I can give him. In terms of that story. But yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is that there's a little bit... Yeah, no, I don't want to ruin what the little bit is in that two-parter, but there is a bit in that two-parter that I immediately thought, even when I was a kid, wow, there's a little bit of a prequel / story there. So this story, Rebirth, although isn't obviously technically part of the main actual show of Doctor Who, obviously, it's somewhat interconnected to that, ever so slightly, in the sense that this is, in my head, a little bit like a prequel to that two-parter, and you'll find out what I mean when ideally I set up my idea fairly well, or it comes out fairly well and or into fruition, basically. Hopefully you'll get what I mean, and or hopefully you'll get where I'm going with this, because there is a bit, as I say, in that two-parter where I was like, wait, what? You could easily do a prequel to this story in the future, a story set before the beginning of that story, of that two-parter. But yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the God damn it, every time, Silurians? No, Slitheen. We haven't seen the Slitheen since Series 1, I don't think, in the new series, which is weird because they always seem to be in Sarah Jane Adventures, like every other week, but it might just be because obviously kids like the idea of farting aliens, but I think I just like them because the face, I think they just look cool. They look sort of like your traditional alien. When you say to a kid, what does an alien look like, they're probably going to say big, green, sort of bulging eyes, sort of big, bulging, maybe black or grey eyes, like grotesque, fat, maybe, or bulbous round head, like this, and they kind of look sluggish, like with the head, like, kinda, and then they've also got those weird blinking eyes that always looked weird, and also the fact that it was a really good practical effect, like costume design wise. I love it when Doctor Who goes practical with stuff, and actually has something physically for the actors to not only act against, but also, be in the same room as them and or work against. It just makes it adds an extra layer of depth there. The hands, again, another thing that I've always liked, like, the claws and that, which you can tell in part 1 and 2, I am a fan of, like, the claws and that, because 2 people get killed by, basically, him clawing them and slashing them and flailing them about the place, so, I added this character because, me being the idiot that I am, I was like, looked at the shelf up there and was like, oh yeah, I have a police officer character up there. Literally, who's usually sort of posed like this of sorts, kind of behind the Matt Smith, raggedy Matt Smith, in a way where it looks like she's cuffing him from behind or something, putting handcuffs on him from behind or something. But yeah, like, obviously she's in a police uniform, why not use her in this? So yeah, there's 3 people deaded by part 2, which is really depressing. The captain died, John, that guy died, although whether or not you care he died is another thing. So yeah, hopefully the story shall progress into some interesting stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've got a few ideas here and there, but nothing too major, and that, but yeah, I mean, I've only got 2 more parts to go. Each part so far, as well, which is weird to me, has nearly been 20 minutes, so, But then again, it will be a lot of me just going over the camera, just putting my hand over the camera, because I have no editing software, which is stupid. But yeah, so, yeah, I mean, what I will say, though, is what I've realised, I kind of regret picking the Gwen figure as a companion type person, because of the fact that, because she's on high heels, she can fall over pretty quickly, Just not the most sturdiest of characters, so action figures, which is annoying, I guess, in that respect. Also, the Slovene as an action figure have these, like, huge-ass bodies, and then tiny little goddamn feet. That I never understood, I'll be honest, but, it's like that, you have to kind of, like, it immediately just bends the leg. Bend the leg, Danielson. Sweep the leg, Danielson. But yeah, I do have more than just the one Slovene action figure, so spoiler alert for part 3 and or 4, you'll probably see more of them, and that. And as I say, just generally, I'm trying to ideally up the scale in terms of my quote-unquote production values, quote-unquote. What I mean by that is actually, instead of just having this be like a spaceship, I'm gonna deck it out with some stuff, make it actually look like maybe there's some sort of background and scenery, like kind of like how I did with that, which I got from the Deadpool action figure. It's its base, which looks cool as balls. I mean, as cool as anything on the planet. It's just that it probably helps that it's obviously got like all these bullet shells and all this and that, and then it's got like this bullet hold wall and all that. But then again, it would make sense considering it's Deadpool, and obviously people usually are trying to shoot at him because he's a mercenary, and he is dead. He is deadied. So yeah, quite a few different action figures and characters and people and stuff, and hopefully people stick around for parts 3 and 4 and that. So, and then that will conclude the first story in the new series of Figure Adventures. Hopefully people are liking it. Please do comment below what your thoughts are, either on the actual episode or in this segment, which just goes over the behind the scenes, the sort of, again, production of said story and that, I guess. I say production in inverted commas because there is none, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing this. I know it's really terrible, they're really cringy, they're really bad. I don't particularly care for rewatching them. And I mean, I guess if I can't watch them, then I'm surprised anyone else does watch them. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I occasionally watch them and then feel like I should delete them because they're terrible. But yeah, I mean, as I say, I've got a few ideas of where the story can go from here. I don't know if the cliffhangers have been the best cliffhangers ever, Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen part 1, but, the Doctor just gets a gun pulled on him, and then the cliffhanger, spoiler alert again if you haven't seen part 2, although if you haven't seen part 2, you shouldn't really be watching the behind the scenes of part 2, and that, but, obviously the cliffhanger for this was the reveal of the Slovene, although you probably guessed that it was the Slovene anyway from the claws and whatnot, and that, and I mean, he was there quickly in a quick little snippet of the Series 7 trailer, which seemed to have done really well, which are a lot better than I anticipated that trailer did. That reminds me, I might as well say it here, but when I've done episode 1, Rebirth, and then the next 2 episodes, I've got, I'm going to do a sort of Series 7 Part 2 trailer, which will be a trailer for episodes 4, 5, and 6, so, which are the last 3, because I'm only doing 3 episodes per series, or in this series anyway, and that, so, yeah, so the first trailer that did do surprisingly well, that was a trailer for, as I said, the first 3 episodes, so Rebirth, and then the next 2, which I'm not going to tell you the titles of, because then you might be like, I don't want to watch them, or whatever, but, maybe, and also just because, you'll be more ideally interested if I don't tell you all of the things that I've got planned. But yeah, thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe.